Business headlines. And for help with that, we're going to bring in our Monday Money Men, business and markets analyst and NewsMax contributor Seth Denson, as well as accounting professor at Montclair State University, Dan Geltrude. Good morning, gentlemen. Okay, the markets, they finished the week down this morning. Futures are mixed ahead of the opening bell. All right, so less than a week since it first launched, Instagram's newest app, Threads, has passed 100 million users. Dan, just how big is this?
Well, it's going to be huge because starting off at this level, it just goes to show you that consumers out there are looking for an alternative to Twitter. Because personally, I find Twitter a little clunky to use. I think if there's an easier way to communicate, and certainly if you're already on Instagram, it's an easy transition, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that I talked to said that they joined Threads because you get to keep all of your followers from Instagram. You're not just starting from zero. Another warning, if you want to delete Threads, like if you're on it and you're saying, I don't really like this thing, you have to delete your Instagram completely. So be careful before you get on Threads. But all of this, of course, has Elon Musk threatening to sue Mark Zuckerberg and his new app, as well as other challenges. Seth, to you now, what is the latest between these two social media giants?
You know, I can't tell if this is all theater or just there's actually no love lost here. And I'm starting to think that at first I thought this was all theater, right? When we're going to have a UFC fight and I'll sue you. And it just seems like, you know, lawsuits are the weapon of the millionaires or billionaires, right? But now actually Elon's going personal, and I'm not going to talk about how personal he's gone here, but there's a battle royale going on here. It'll be interesting to see who ultimately wins out. Will there be lawsuits filed? Probably. Yeah. Will there be more personal attacks? Probably. Will it continue to be entertaining? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so no additional negotiations are scheduled between the Teamsters Union and UPS as the deadline for a potential strike slowly approaches. Dan, to you now, what do we need to know at this point?
Well, what we need to know here is if there's a strike, we're all going to be impacted because UPS is obviously a major player of getting packages from point A to point B. So although we're all hoping that this is going to get settled sooner rather than later so we don't all feel the pain, keep in mind that after this negotiation is over, and at some point it will end, it's going to mean more expenses for UPS. And guess what? They're going to have to pass that on to consumers. So once again, we're all going to pay.
So on Friday, a New York City judge froze a new law that was supposed to go into effect this week, upping the minimum pay for app-based food delivery workers. Seth, why the delay, and how are those delivery workers responding?
Well, they don't like it. I mean, why would they be happy about this? If there was a rule that was going to say that they were going to make $18 an hour, just roughly that, it was just under that, on top of the tips that they normally make, and now a judge is stepping in and saying, whoa, that's just too much. And this is putting an undue burden on the consumer, as Dan was just talking about, because it's going to cause prices to go up and businesses to have to be impacted by those things. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this ultimately ends up in the courts, whether or not this law was a stretch too far for the city of New York. My hunch is that ultimately it will become law just because of where that court case will end up.
Exactly. So the former head of Walmart weighed in on inflation over the weekend and just how long it would take for consumers to actually feel any relief. Dan, do you agree with what he had to say?
Well, we're talking here about Bill Simon, who is the former CEO of Walmart. And what he had to say is that inflation is worse than a recession. Why? Because if you have unemployment, let's say, going to 6 or 8%, well, that is going to affect a smaller amount of people, right, meaning in a recession, than what inflation would do, because inflation impacts everyone. So his main point here was to say inflation has to be the #1 priority to be attacked here, because we all feel the pain, as opposed to a recession, meaning unemployment, although it's not great, is impacting a much, much smaller pool of people.
We'll talk about things going up in price. I may be one of the last people who's doing this. I still like to mail things and put stamps on it. I like to send out birthday cards. But the price of stamps, they've gone up. The U.S. Post Office raising prices just yesterday. Seth, what's behind this latest hike?
Well, the post office for years has not made money. They've been a loser for the federal government, and even the federal government has recently had to forgive a massive loan that they provided to the United States Postal Service during COVID. But it is iconic, right? The postal worker, and a lot of people don't know this, that the stamp is the only other form of federal currency besides the United States mint and dollar. Meaning, if I take a stamp inside of the post office, they will give me money for it. And so, as you think about these things, these stamps have gone up over 30% in prices since 2019. So the ultimate inflation. But again, I'm with you, Alex. I still like to send handwritten notes and send it, but it is getting much more expensive considering when you set send on an email, it goes immediately.
Absolutely. Gone up 30% since 2019. That sounds unreal. So tomorrow is 7-Eleven, and you know what that means. 7-Eleven, of course, the convenience store is celebrating the day with its annual free Slurpee offer. But this year, they're adding a few more deals. Dan, what can you get tomorrow?
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you about the Slurpee. I am not a big fan because it causes me brain freeze, and there's nothing more than I need, right, than for my brain to be freezing up. But look, if you're a fan of 7-Eleven and Slurpees, here's your chance to get out there and get some free brain freeze if that's what you're looking for.
I think they're also doing something like $1
7-Eleven.
pizza.
Iconic. Yeah, dollar pizza slices and some of their chicken and stuff. But here's the deal. Go out with your kids. Get a Slurpee. It's iconic. It's a memory you'll always make. And Coke and cherry combined, it's the best.
Ooh, I like that. And I like that. Take your kids. Go get a nice little Slurpee on a hot summer day. I like that. Seth Denson, Dan Geltrude, thank you both for joining us this morning. Always a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you.